All aboard the Esoteric Express, where we take a ride through your mind on the spooky side of this track. This is Nick. This is Ant. We got a special guest tonight, Lely from Rated L. She's next to me. So, Ant, what are we doing?
Well, tonight we have a very interesting subject that will probably take us hours upon hours to fully digest and go through, and that is Saturn's death cult. So
Saturn Death Cult.
Saturn death cult. Yeah. So I almost said Satan, but
Satan.
we talked about him a little bit too much last time. So Nick, when I first looked this up, it just seemed like it was the true rabbit's hole as far as information. Like I started getting into it, it started going into, we'll talk about this later, like the Garden of Eden, a lot of the buildings that were built in DC all had this specific geometry. Like the whole Saturn death cult thing seems to be pretty legit the more I look into it, how it ties into all these different little things and kind of pulls everything together. What's your opinion on it?
Alright, so yeah, I feel the same way, but my whole thing was how I first found it had nothing to do with knowing any of this crap.
Okay.
So I'm going to take you back about like 17, 18 years ago. I was like 7 years old, 8 years old. My math's off, so I might not be on the right numbers. But I had this pen, right? Like just a regular pen. But inside the pen, it was like one of them pens that had like the bubble blowing things in it. So I was bored. I was trying to draw pictures because, I didn't have no TV and shit like that. So blue bubble, the bubble popped on my paper, and the bubble made this symbol on my paper. I'm going to draw it for you, and I'll show you on the camera. Very simple. Just it bubble popped. It looked like this. Is it showing?
Yep.
Okay. So I had no idea what that was, but I always remembered that shit since I was a kid. And then just going through random research and shit like that, I found that symbol again, and it was attached to, of course, Saturn Death Cult. And that's what got me reading into this shit. And everything that I found out about it, a lot of it just connects to a lot of ancient cultures, religions, everything. It kind of like ties everything together in like a more neater version of everything.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. And to start kind of at the beginning of this satanic or satanic, I'm gonna keep saying that all night. My mind is not in the right place. But the Saturn Death Cult, it does start off at the very beginning talking about the 4 ages of man. Do you know anything about the 4 ages of man?
It was the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age. And I know currently we're supposedly in the Iron Age.
Yeah, the Iron Age, which is significant because it's a representation of industry and technology. So it does sound pretty much like how we're living today. But going back through the different ages, did you read into like how they were talking about the dawn of man through their perspective?
A little bit. That was more. They had the perspective that Saturn was the original sun to Earth, and everything that was in their golden age, so to say.
Yeah, like atmospheric purple haze on Earth. There was no moon, and how you can tell time was by the passing or the phases of Earth's oceans would be influenced by its great tidal movements, and that man lived in a perpetual state of darkness, which goes back to like the beginning of Genesis when it's like in the beginning, there was no light or anything like that,
right.
See how the original stories or the origin stories kind of like merge together as far as having the same conceptual beginning where there's darkness. And out of darkness comes light, it's
the normal story from like everybody.
Yeah.
But the only connection I made personally was how they talking about the 4 ages and all of that. That made me think of the Mayan stuff, how they have the 4 cycles. Like there's different cycles of man and life, and one cycle ends and it goes into the next cycle. And then with the Saturn Death Cult stuff, it pretty much depicted the 4 ages as 4 separate cycles of mankind's like existence through just the world, and how everything changed drastically from one. It's a drop off. Everything from the gold down, it drops off into like it's supposed to be moving up, but it seems to be going down.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that you say like because the different cycles all seem to, be every cycle that we talked to, even like the Mayan cycle was we're at the very end of it, and then it restarted. Well, some people are saying, well, even the Mayan calendar was off by 5 to 10 years
our
or
counting
whatever.
is off by like thousands of years.
So there could be a whole different final timeline for this supposed age of time. So and what if again they all come back to the same type of tie-in between ages, eons, and the cycles. What if they were all like tied together and all originated from one beginning religion, etc.? So
yeah, but we'll never know because history wants us to believe one thing and one thing only.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that goes against it is put off as crazy talk or fucking conspiracy theories, and they're just gonna brush that shit under, even though if it connects and makes better sense and can, pretty much like I said, connect the dots.
Yeah,
that shit ain't happening. So input from you.
Well, what I was gonna say was those cycles. I mean, of course, everything goes in cycles anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at nature, everything has cycles. We have the seasons. We have 4 seasons: the spring, summer, fall, and winter. So everything, when it goes down, it's bound to come back up. It's obviously cycles, and it's never ending because everything is energy, and energy is indestructible. So basically, I mean, that's what I think. And then also about all of these things that happened, throughout history. Obviously, history is going to be written by the whoever wins. So it's really never going to be accurate.
No.
Probably the most accurate thing that we're going to be able to figure out is when we go within our own minds, because I don't know, in my own personal belief, I think every single mind is a universe mirrored, in the microcosm as the macrocosm is. So everything is, like I guess the Bible mentions too, that we're created in our Creator's image, I guess. So everything that is, if you see, for example, I guess I don't want to ramble, but if you see the eye of a human being and you compare pictures of our iris to pictures of outer space, they kind of look the same.
Yeah.
And then the connections of our neurons in our brain, you can compare, these things, and they're completely separate. So it makes you think, if we're created in somebody's image, whoever our God is or creator,
right,
then everything that is in the micro is going to be in the macro. So who's to say that we're not living in a universe that's actually a neuron in somebody's mind, a greater being? You know what I mean? So that kind of makes you wonder about.
But I know what you're talking about with the eye thing. How I seen it, how it was cut, and they compared it to everything in the universe.
Yep.
But what if? All right, this is my crazy thought out there. But what if, like, our understanding of that projects it outwards, and then like we're in our head and we know what this looks like, and that's what's making everything else look like that because we have an understanding thinking. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's also another thing, like when you look at, you look at all these stories, but you also look into how scientists, study physics and all these sciences, and they tell us that, at an atomic level, 99% of the space is empty. So, where is everything coming from? We really have to give, I guess, some credit to the idea that we might actually be our own creators.
Another thing that you brought up too, like you compared the 4 cycles, like 4 seasons, but everything has a tie back to a certain number with everything, regarding religion, beliefs, whatever, and it's always certain numbers that always show back up. And he got lost in it.
That is a lot to digest, and
that also ties into numerology if you think about it.
Well, and that's a whole other topic that we're gonna definitely delve into.
Yeah, I didn't know too much about that, but
when we're talking about the numerology with your boy, what's his name, Simon? No, Master. Master Leonard. And the numerology that was tied to him.
Yeah.
So numerology is something that has always consumed my interest, and I think one of the things that everybody finds as universally constant is that math is the universal language.
Well, yeah, math wasn't created, math was discovered.
Yeah. So we're just rediscovering what's already been created and
Yeah.
what's already been discovered. And it's and then we have
You threw me off. I thought something was happening behind me.
So I'm going to pull up this image, and that's when I put in chat. So let me take a look at that real quick.
But as far as the math, like, all right, sacred geometry, vortex math, all of that,
Oh, yeah.
Fibonacci spiral, yeah.
And it's very interesting.
Like, everything's connected.
We just had a link on chat, and it's I'll throw it up on the big screen.
No, I can see it. It's good.
And it's a picture of a brain cell in the universe, and they look exactly alike. So I'll throw it up here so y'all see. So.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much, Mr. Naughty Pirate 42. So.
And you know, also talking about numerology, like, sorry to get off topic, but you know, if you guys, whoever's watching, if you want to kind of dive into it real quick, the way that it goes is you go from 1 through 9, and you can basically do. Let me show you.
Oh, the multiplication table thing?
No, it's like a little table where you can actually decipher different kinds of things, like with your name and your date of birth.
Okay.
But if you don't have the information like readily available, you can just go like from A through the 9th letter of the alphabet, and then subsequently put numbers like from 1 through 9, and then you go with the rest of the letters of the alphabet. So it kind of goes like 1 through 9, which is 6. Let me see, from A through I, and then the rest of the letters are going to go again from 1 through 9.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like how you figure out your name and then your date of birth, and then you can come up with like different numbers that'll tell you what your life path is, your destiny. It'll give you a lot of insight. It's kind of like astrology, but with numbers. So it's the study of numerology. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So if you continue those and then do 1 through 9.
Yeah.
So.
And for those who can't see it, she's writing out she'll show you as soon as she gets done, writing out the alphabet and characters of 9, right?
So it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry guys, this is my doctor handwriting, because you're probably not going to even understand anything you want to show them.
Oh, okay. So now they think it's my handwriting.
So they think it's your handwriting.
Is it showing up?
Yeah, it's showing good.
Okay.
Keep it up for a little bit longer.
I'm holding it.
So describe what this is again, just real quick,
That's
so everyone
going
can
to
see what
be
you're seeing.
the basic chart of numerology. That's how you come up with your destiny number, your life path number, pretty much everything. You can decipher your name, even your street name, like where you live, and then your city. Because another thing is like, you know how when you live in different areas, like different neighborhoods have different energies. So that's kind of like, also it has to do with like your street name and your city name and different energies that come with the vibration of certain names, and the vocalization of the name that gives it a certain energy. So you can decipher that energy through numerology, kind of like you decipher your horoscope and what the day's going to be like with your horoscope, the day that you were born. So you're either like Leo, Virgo, Aries, Pisces, whatever, and then you kind of just guide yourself with that by the means of horoscope and tarot reading, like with the beautiful tarot readers from YouTube. There's like a lot of hot guys out there doing the tarot, and I didn't even know that. But anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back to the original topic.
But no, that's good, because
I'm just saying.
As we go through all these different subjects that we have planned for all of our different podcasts, a lot of stuff we're going to start tying to each other and overlapping, and there's going to be parts where we talk about things that we may talk about in a couple weeks, or topics that are quite interesting, and when we first talk about it, may have no relevance to something, but the more we learn, the more we find that different things tie together. And I always believe that amongst all of these beliefs, religions, etc., that there's a common line that kind of ties everything together, and that's what I'm trying to figure out what that common thing is. So, going back on a little bit more on the Saturn death cult, as it was. What else brought you to this particular cult?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
All right. Honestly, besides just what I told you from the start with the whole symbol and finally finding that it actually belonged to something, that is 100% what led me to it. But then the research in it got me more interested into it because it it's more like whether this is like legit or just like some people's belief that they try to connect the dots and make their own story out of it. This is the one, I'm not too sure how far back it goes, but the way they connected it made the most sense out of like the bits and pieces and scraps of other cultures and their beliefs. It brought it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, other than that, I'm more looking into seeing where the information I found on this, where they got their sources from, because so far it just seems to be one-sided. Unless it's very secretive and this is the real deal, and then we're all gonna die after we talk about it.
Well, it could be that one of the first things that it had talked about was a lot of the parallels between the creation story and taking and replacing the word Yahweh with Saturn, and that you start to see that the initial paradise and everything like that was all correlated within the this perfect utopia area that these cultist members believe in, and that what their end goal is to essentially try to get us back to that level where we're back, restarting the cycles and going back to that first age,
The golden age.
the golden age, and trying to get everything to be more in balance with nature, with the kind of like population control, trying to get us to X amount of level, and they were saying that the world population has to be low X amount. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but the first thing that pops in my head is the Georgia Guidestones. Yeah, that in order for the world to be successful and to carry on, we have to get back down to the sustainable level for the world. So, what was your thoughts about that? Did you see that?
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah, so do I.
Like, just wipe out the dumb people. The rich people too need to go with the dumb people because in their own sense the rich people are stupid.
Yeah.
Then we take it from there, and then all the middle people can work together happily and bring everything back to where it should be. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and what's very interesting is that if you listen to like Alex Jones or any of the big conspiracy theories, that they're all trying to do population control and all this wonderful stuff, and um, if they had the ability and they could do it, why haven't they done it yet?
Because it's funner to be in control of everybody and keep them distracted with stupid, meaningless shit.
I mean, I guess so, but
I mean, all right, if you were at the top of the food chain with all the elites, money's not an issue for you. You have control. You can do whatever you want at any time.
Yeah.
And how the satisfaction you would have to sit back in your chair at night and be like, I control over 500 million people. They don't even have a clue who I am. And I can do whatever I want them to do. I make them believe whatever I want them to believe.
Yeah.
I own everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get a kick out of that if I could do that.
But, I mean, in their own words, that their whole goal is for population control and to get everything lower and lower and back to this golden age. Wouldn't that be more?
But they're not looking for the golden age. They're just looking hysterical. They want to keep people separated.
Yeah.
You got to break it off to the people that can be just fooled by the normal stuff. Oh, I love current culture, social media, yada yada yada, this, that, and that. And then you got the people that break off and they think for themselves. Oh, those people is crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. The conspiracy theory, So everyone's got their own little bubble, which will keep people disconnected from coming together and actually getting back to the age because they'll keep everything at odds with each other.
Now, another thing is actually, if you think about it, why would they want to control the population when in reality, right now, if you do the numbers, you do the math, I honestly don't even think that if you put everybody together, they could actually even live harmoniously in one continent across the entire planet and just leave everything else as it is clean. But population control is, I mean, I guess it's a double-edged sword kind of. But then also it kind of takes you back to the notion of really, if we are our own creators, why would we want to be here if we're going to be alone? You know what I mean? If we are really what some people say is God, why did we come here in the first place, and why did we split off into so many different souls and so many different humans and people and maybe even other beings across other planets?
Oh, that's what we're trying to find out.
Right. And what I'm saying is, if you like think about it, like really, really think about it, if you go inside your own mind and you are God and you created everything and you came here to the planet because you wanted to, to experience being a smaller part of what you really are, you have the ability to split yourself off and have all kinds of 7 billion perspectives of what you created in one planet and one tiny little part of the entire cosmos. Why would you want to have less of a perspective and less of an experience when you can multiply yourself, and experience it from so many different places and levels in life, and just have an abundance? Like really, that's abundant. In my opinion, that's abundance. Because look at us, and we're like biological machines. We're like the most advanced computer on the entire planet. Even though we try to build all these advanced, technologies and computers, we're never going to be able to recreate what we are.
Yeah.
With our, with our hands, like with these, microchips and so many advancements. But are we really ever going to be able to create a human being with a soul other than the organic way, which is, having babies and reproducing ourselves? I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
I mean, I don't know. It could be, something as simple as the origin, or we all came out of chaos and we're just here. It could be as simple as that. All of a sudden, two particles collided and boom, we're created. Yeah. And then two particles were crashed in the early 2000s, and then there's the Mandela effect. Put that on the topic for one of our yeah, I talk about that all day.
Yeah.
But it's when we start getting into these ancient beliefs and these ancient cultures and these ancient religions, the creation story is always there was nothing, there's something. Not like exactly how it was done or how it was created, but that it is and it was. And, that kind of gives me, not to go ancient aliens on you, but it's kind of like we were just, created and kind of brainwashed to believe that,
to mine gold.
Yeah. To mine gold and for the Anunnaki so they can put it in dust particles and
in the atmosphere. Oh, that sounds familiar now.
Oh, wait.
Isn't that what they're doing?
Yeah, well, and that's the very interesting thing. Like, the scientists now are like, hey, in order to fight global warming, guess what we need to do? We need to take gold particles and shoot it into the atmosphere. Just like, yeah. Very interesting.
It was like knocks at the door.
Yeah.
Are we talking about demons today again?
Oh,
is
no.
That one of them?
Zozo's not allowed back in here.
Yeah, that was weird.
I will make sure that the door's locked, so I heard there's people that walk into random apartments. Right?
Yeah, that wasn't my fault. Everything looks the same in here. But other than that, see, now you got my mind going in like fucking 12 different directions right now because we talked about so many sidetrack shit. I'm kind of like, huh. Because I was thinking about one thing, now I'm thinking about another thing.
Well, you know what? Let's just flow with it because as we go through here,
Yeah.
the things that Adele Lilly was talking about, I'm name dropped you
Name
and
drop.
doxed you on. We'll have to edit that out. This is not the name we were looking for.
Yeah, no, that's not my
This
stage
is not
name.
the name, stage name.
I'm kidding. No.
But
While you're on
you
the
know,
couch.
go as it flows. I mean, if we start on a topic,
Yeah.
we got to go to a different topic. You know, the whole purpose is to explore the unknown and really push the limits of what we know and what we can perceive. And eventually, one day, we'll get another camera, so my ugly bug will be on there as well. So
Mhm.
the way people don't think you're just looking off into space while we're talking. So
Hearing the voice.
hear a
It's
voice.
I hear a voice. It's coming to me.
But no, what ran through your mind as far as that?
Shit, I won't blank now. It was in the moment thing.
Oh.
It was kind of bouncing in my head. Wait,
We gotta
because I was trying to wait. Should I say this and cut you off, or cut her off and talk about this now?
Oh, no, we got to keep
You-
going as we go.
You should just like jump right in.
Yep.
But I was
That's
interested
like
in what you guys had to
that's-
say at the same time, so it was like I didn't want to cut you off because I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Hey,
But then
we
by the
can
time you
always
were
go
done, I was like, wait,
We
what?
can
I
always
was
go back.
So one of the things that we had talked about a couple times was the golden age, and this is what the cult wants to bring it back to, and what they perceived as the golden age was a certain time in history when bliss and there's plenty, and the duration of this Saturn's precarious life on Earth was when the polar sun was in a position that blah 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 blah. So everything is wonderful, essentially.
Which
on
it is
Earth.
not now.
Yeah, obviously, you know, I mean, you know, look who's president, but oh no, we're not going political. So,
What, did you already sold down? Anyways, back to this.
So it's very interesting that there's always this projection of this good times, this best times, as far as what they believe in, and you know, I had brought back like the Garden of Eden. Like one of the people that really deep into this theory hypothesized that the Garden of Eden was the golden times during you know, our history where everything was perfect, and then you know when Adam and Eve and Lilith, like we talked about last time, you know, partook in knowledge and they were able to judge and be judged. That's when they were expelled from, you know, this perfect age. So
And they hit the silver age.
yeah, and you know, it could have been like a good transition into the whole silver age.
Their first real experience of being on the world without everything handed to them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What if what they took was like DMT or some other hallucinogen?
Well-
actually just opened up their eyes to what their true reality was.
What if the ayahuasca plant was?
Well, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's in the bark, in the trees, in the Middle East. It originated out there. So if Egypt area was a rainforesty as shit and all that stuff, and that was like, you know, the Eden spot where everything was happening, that shit grew naturally out there. So they could have, the fucking tree of knowledge, they was smoking the fucking tree of knowledge.
Well, that's why, and amazing that you said that, is a lot of researchers believe that the Garden of Eden was actually in Egypt.
Yeah.
Because the way it was described, the plant life, etc., that was there prior to the Nile reversing its flow
Yeah.
and everything turning to desert out there, it almost fits to a T the description of the Garden of Eden. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched that that tree was there.
Yeah.
DMT partook.
Boom.
Maybe that was what snapped.
They wasn't eating fruit, they was smoking.
So I think that'll be a subject that we'll have to talk about here soon. I am no expert at DMT by all means, but it's definitely maybe something that we'll probably get banned from Twitch if we did it live. But
Educational purposes.
educational purposes, someone off screen could be taking it.
No, just fucking do it and block it out.
Well, I'm saying the person off screen could be doing it, and then
On screen, on
be
screen.
like, "Hey, what you doing over
You
there?"
get like, you know, that filter thing when
Do an
people don't want to be
interview.
seen?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Do
they
an
just,
interview after the
Yeah.
DMT. We
and then
just
put the
need to
voice
get a-
changer on. It's really the I'm just gonna hide my identity.
Nice one. That's a good idea.
Next episode.
Next episode.
Like,
The mystery person off screen is going to take DMT next time.
We don't know who it's gonna be.
we might volunteer our friend Eric that is going to come out and do the DMT for us.
Oh, he's gonna do 3 Kings on DMT.
No. We're going to bring the Ouija board to his apartment first. We're going to do blood sacrifice. Then.
Oh, the goat connection.
Yes.
Okay, so you know how the ancient world.
Sacrifices?
No, not sacrifices. The goats. How everything has a goat tie-in.
Yeah,
with, like
maybe
all,
you would know about that.
all cultures and everything, like goat sacrifice, goat worship,
Demonology.
goat in demonology, goats in everything.
Right.
What do you know what the fascination with goats are? Back with, if you know anything on that, because we were talking about that. We were like, why does everyone love some goats? Goats.
Well, you would probably have to look into like the ancient. The very first story that I know that had something to do with like with a goat was when, you know, that story about who was it, Abraham that went up to the mountain?
Moses?
Or Moses? No, it was
Abraham.
Was
that
Abraham
sacrificed his son?
No, the one that I don't even know. The one that went up to the mountain for like 10 days that came out with the
10 Commandments?
The 10
That's
Commandments.
Moses. Was it Moses?
Okay.
Noah? Moses.
No, Moses got the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, but that wasn't
Okay,
a goat.
so-
That was a calf.
So when he came back down, they had this animal on a pedestal, and they had made it in gold,
Yeah,
and they
the
started.
cow.
It was the baby cow. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but it wasn't a goat.
It wasn't a goat.
Anyway.
But anywho,
We start talking about
that's
goats
how-
and demons, and all of a sudden you hear that.
I don't hear nothing. So you can mind your own fucking business while we talk about goats and cows. But yes, I did notice.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
So did I. This is like going
Yeah, right there. It's like, you got mad when you started talking about Moses' commandments and cows. Like, get back to the goats.
Naughty pirate, yeah. Actually, are they delicious? I've never had goats.
Goats? Curry goat is.
Curry, yeah, goat curry.
I've never had.
Oh, this is Jamaican spot? You know the Jamaican
It's a
spot.
Jamaican spot, yeah.
Here's a plug for Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings in Houston, Texas. Go out
Gessner and
there,
Belford.
get some.
That shit is good.
Tell them that Omar said again.
Podcast break. Road trip to Cool Runnings.
Hey, can you guys pick up the sound that in the background on the screen?
Chivo tacos. Chivo tacos.
Oh.
Chivo is goat in Spanish? Yes. Right? Yes.
I don't know. I nodded that.
Is it passing down? I'm gonna get lost if I walk out the door and I'm gonna end up in someone else's apartment.
Right.
Okay, we can't send you, but
Alright.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I know about goats.
Goats,
But,
okay.
No, I've never
That
had
goats are not cows.
to
That's
eat.
what we got. That's what we just learned from you.
Goats are not cows.
Goats are not cows.
My bad. Okay, all right.
And that we are all pretty bad on biblical fucking names. We went from Abraham, Noah to Moses.
It was Jesus. I'm telling you.
It was Jesus.
That was not Jesus.
That's my boy Jesus.
Oh,
Solomon.
Jesus.
Solomon.
Wow.
Okay, so off the goats, off the cows. So that's not a topic. We're gonna go into the goat connection. But you know what I'm talking about, like how they drew all the pictures. Everyone had horns. Everyone had like hooves or some kind of shit when they were like referring to like an evil spirit or a demon or something like that.
Yeah.
So we were bringing that up because there seemed to be like a lot of goat sacrifice, goat worship, and crap like that, and that's what made me ask the question last time we were talking. Why does everyone love some goats?
And see, also another thing is, if you look at the drawing or the illustration of the Luciferian.
What, the Baphomet?
Yeah, the Baphomet.
Yeah.
It's all goat.
Well, that's what I was talking about because the Baphomet was actually supposed to be like a representation of this one demon. His name was Master Leonard, and he was the goat with 3 horns. And the Knights Templar worshipped him and did banquets to him and crap like that.
And see, that's a good topic to research too, because like Naughty Pirate thing, you know, what if goats are the true creators of the universe? You never know. So
The
that's,
greatest of all
thank
time,
you.
you know?
That's a good topic. Yeah. So yeah. What is they hold the sacred key of Kalfu? What is Kalfu?
That I don't know.
I've never heard of that.
Google?
But that's a good
Yeah.
topic though, because
Gonna
it
have
is
to
true.
take notes
It's a
on
lot of there's a lot of different religions and a lot of different people, I guess, or representations that use the goat, and they use different things that have to do with goats. So
because
that
like the
makes
more you
wonder,
learn,
yeah.
it's something a goat.
Right. And
And-
making those connections is actually pretty
Alright,
cool.
that's on the to-do list.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. Got a whole big to-do list that we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So, but that's off the demon stuff. You see, look, it kind of lowered down the noise.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that.
There's definitely something in here.
Yeah, yeah. Just like last week. It only started last week, like noticeably with that. Like it cut the whole stream off too.
Oh my god! And see, that's what happens. I mean, these
The
things,
electronics.
they will suck the energy out of pretty much
anything.
all the appliances and everything.
It was the weirdest shit though. But that's one thing. So we're gonna keep fucking around with that and see like if we can. Not, I don't want to be on no ghost hunter shit where it's like, oh, did you see that? Oh, did you hear that? No, like I want to experience the shit and see what it really feels like to have something happen.
Yeah.
Not that I want bad things to happen, but it's not like I'm like young again with a bunch of my friends and we're all like pushing the Ouija thing in different directions. Like I want to see if it actually moves. I want to feel what that kind of energy feel like.
Yeah.
Did you ever do a Ouija thing?
Ouija board, I have never used one.
Ever?
And I don't intend to. Nope.
Ever?
Nope.
Yo, I know people
never,
that are like so against that
I'm
shit.
like,
they are like super against it. They won't go near it. They won't have it done nowhere in their house, nowhere near. They won't go inside a house that it was done in.
Yeah.
Like people are firmly against that. So.
Well, you never know. I mean, you could be opening a portal, you know?
No, I get that aspect of it, but my thing is, then why is it mass produced as a child's game? If people have that much, like they're offset about that so much.
But then again, it goes into the concept of us as humans being, conduits for energy. So.
Well, that's what the palm reader told me.
Yeah, exactly. So the more people that use it, it's better for them because there's more portals and there's more ways to come in and out. But see, Kalfu, Naughty Pirate, thank you so much for this because this is awesome and I really appreciate it. So I think we're gonna go with what you're saying. And
what is it?
It's Kalfu controls the crossroads and has the power to grant or deny access to all other Eloi or spirits, and he allows the crossing of bad luck, deliver destruction, misfortune, and injustice. That's really interesting.
So is that like a demon or something?
We should look into it.
Or a god or something?
It was like an entity.
Like a pagan thing?
Yeah, I guess. But I'm gonna look into it because now you piqued my interest.
Whoa.
So thank you for that. We appreciate it. And so yeah, going back to this Saturn death cult, this is like the first time that I hear about it.
Yeah.
So you said you came across it due to a bubble?
Okay, yeah. All right, look. It makes no sense, but I remember this shit clear as day. I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was in the living room. I had I had my colored pencils and paper just to draw because I like to draw as a kid.
Yeah.
And I blew that bubble out of the pen, and the water hit the paper and it dried in exactly this symbol, where I remember this shit forever. And I don't know how, I didn't like search Saturn Death Cult or anything like that. I just remember I was on YouTube. I was watching like weird conspiracy video things on YouTube, and this dude, they had like a little image come up, and he had like he was like a priest robe kind of thing, and the priests wear that like the like a scarf thing that goes. Yeah. It's a really long scarf that goes over their chest, and he had 4 patches on it, and one of the patches was actually that symbol.
Oh wow!
So then I started trying to figure out who that guy was, and then I found out, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but then I googled that guy, and it said he was a priest in the Saturn Death Cult, and that's where I went to find out more because I'm like, I've had this shit with me my entire life. I never knew what it was.
Yeah.
And now someone has it embroidered on a fucking like thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm interested now.
Yeah.
What's going on? Am I already part? Am I in this?
Wow.
Did I not know?
Well, you know, they say everything happens for a reason, so
Yeah.
you're probably meant to find out.
But like, I'm telling you, like 20 plus years later from the first time I saw that to actually finding out what it was related to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here I am talking about it.
Well, that's really interesting.
No one believes me.
And now you are at your friend's apartment with the demon that comes in and out.
But that could just be the other one that follows me around, but that's another story.
One? Okay, no.
Oh, because you don't know about the
one.
Ouija board. All right, so I did Ouija board crap younger with my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
I told this story last time or a couple. Oh no, we didn't. We weren't doing it yet. We were just talking about ideas.
Oh.
So no one knows this story. So anyway, we did the Ouija board. Me and my cousin. She doesn't get a name drop because fuck her. We ain't cool no more. But the story is so. She was scared to do it in her house. I was scared to do it in my house. We were like 9 years old at the time. So we made an agreement. Let's do it outside on the porch. So it's in the daytime. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're doing it, asking the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I got my hand on it. She got her hand on it. And nothing's really happening. So I'm like, I don't think it's working.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I don't think it's working either. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I picked it up. I threw it in the trash.
And then?
About 5-6 hours later, it's back in the box on the shelf in my room underneath 2 other board games. And nobody was home from the time that we did it outside till the time I went home that night.
Wow.
So I got scared, and this is, before the days of cell phones, so I couldn't call her and be like, yo, did you do this? So what I did was I took it out, I wrapped it up, I told my mom the story, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And my mom was like, oh, I know what to do. So she said the only way to get rid of it is you have to gift it to somebody else.
Oh, that is so.
So she wrapped it up. She wrapped it up in paper and wrapping paper, and it was my other cousin's birthday coming up. So we gave it to him as a birthday gift, without no knowledge of what the reason why we gave it to him. And then I told my other cousin what happened, and she was like, "Oh wow!" She's like, "I'm glad you finally got rid of that," because she watched me put it in the garbage. And she didn't live in the house. She lived at another place. So she went home. I went home, and then I found it back in my room. So we give it to someone else. Because I wanted it off the block completely. Like, it's not even staying in this neighborhood. We're taking it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
That was the weirdest thing I had with the Ouija board. I know my mom took me to Salem one Halloween. I think like that year, or maybe a year after, or a year before. My timeline is a little, but she went to go see a palm reader and a tarot card reader, and they told her something. But then, like, they did mine too because I was a kid. And then they told me, like, I was an open channel to shit like this, so don't fuck with stuff. Basically, like, don't fuck with it. But now you got me up in this shit, like, wanting to find out everything about it. But I was warned, so if anything bad happens, that's where we at.
See, there you go.
Yeah. Hi.
That's
Yo.
You're back.
We're back. I brought some more special guests.
More special guests?
Go over this way.
The camera's on the side.
Very nice, very nice. Welcome, guys.
Keep walking.
Here, right there.
Say hello.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
No, right in the middle, right in the middle.
No, it's delayed.
It's delayed.
So you see it?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, okay, where am I at?
Okay, y'all working. Okay. So
Alright, so
I retold the stories of the Ouija board shit because we didn't do that shit on the streaming shit. Remember the threw it out? Nah, that was just the pre-recording crap.
Oh, okay.
So I told that story.
Oh, that was from the first
week. Yeah, the Ouija board shit went and popped up back up in my house. Yeah, the Ouija board, get this shit the fuck up out of my house, Ouija board.
Yeah.
So, but I'm down to do it again though. So.
Hey,
this time you gotta do it on stream so they know it's really.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point. So, Charlie, Ouija Mania 3000 is going down. we gotta name the whole episode Ouija Mania 3000.
So let's introduce the new people that showed up.
New people. Oh, you're still on the camera, good.
I'm still here.
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Marisol.
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 And off camera we have Javier.
AKA Russell.
AKA Russell. You've probably seen him from the latest Deadpool 2. You don't like him when he gets angry?
He might light you up. It's only
light
baby burns now, but when he gets older, he gonna roast.
But no, we got Xavier over here as well. So we're all going to let me get you this chair. But all right. So you were talking about the Ouija.
Demons.
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 King Leonard.
That-
Master Leonard. My
Master
fault.
Leonard.
I don't want you to get mad again.
Yeah. So
The demons that come and try to get in the
Yeah.
Into the
They
live
trying to
stream.
get their shine too.
the live broadcast.
yeah, all of a sudden, like during the live stream, like the computer starts acting up, which is wonderful. So, okay,
Which computer?
this one right here.
Oh,
It's the well.
which one is it?
Yeah, so this one's actually recording for our podcast. This one's doing the stream for the live, and yeah, so
Yeah.
it's all one computer, one setup. But but anyway, since you guys haven't been here, we're talking about this thing called the Saturn Death Cult, which is a cult that is current and that is very, very ancient, probably one of the most ancient cults that are out there, and they believe in getting the world back to what it was during a golden age. Which essentially is like wiping out,
The useless people.
yeah, a majority of the population essentially, and bringing us back to a small population. And yeah, so that's kind of where we were at, and then we were talking about the different parts and aspects of it.
And then like her sixth sense kicked in, and she was like, "Yo, I think they're outside." And then we sent Ant down to get you.
You sent the slowest, fattest person to go get you guys.
I get fucking lost. I walk into other people's apartments. I can't leave the area.
But
That guy was like the most startled person I've ever seen.
You walked to a guy's place?
Here in Texas, I'm surprised you did not get shot.
well,
And he would have got shot back. Double homicide next door.
The lady would have been like, "Oh, the strippers are here."
Damn. Then he would have never saw me again.
Yep. But anyways, going back to the whole death cult thing.
I don't. You see, their name is a little off-putting about being a death cult and this, that, and the third, but I kind of like what they got going on.
Hey, today's like full moon.
Yeah, for my birthday, it's
And
gonna
on
be
his
the whole
birthday, it's gonna be
blood
the
moon
blue
shit.
moon.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are gonna be like doing
Yeah, because
There's a
sacrificing animals and
Goats? We're just talking about goats.
and
we
yeah.
should go. That's right.
And
Oh, we learned
yeah.
from
That goats are not
Naughty
cows,
Pirate
I know.
that there's cow foo. It's
There's
another
cow
topic.
poo?
Cow foo is kind of like an entity.
I didn't write it down.
You should write it down because that's interesting. If you don't do it, I'm gonna do it.
Kai food?
Cow
Cow
food.
foo.
Cow foo?
KALFU. That's
Cow food? There we go.
So apparently, cow foo controls the crossroads and has the power to grant or deny access to all other Eloi or spirits.
So it's like a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he allows the crossing of bad luck, deliberate destruction, misfortune, and injustice.
So-
which
So next Sunday on our live
Sounds
stream,
really
then we're gonna try to summon Kai Fu at Eric's house. Then.
Okay.
well, I'm not gonna be there.
Tune in.
So-
Tune in next
Tune in.
week.
I'll tune in. I'll make sure to watch that.
I still want
What's
Ouija
going on?
Mania 3000 to happen.
Ouija Mania.
Ouija Mania 3000. I really want that to happen.
And you can see over on that side.
But you have. Nah.
So with your Ouija Mania, you know what you could do also
What's that?
is have other people join you, like do maybe like a promo kind of event,
Mm-hmm.
and with the cover charge or no cover charge, whatever. But you choose your people, and then
Mhm.
you kind of do like a bigger group of whoever
For the
wants to
Ouija?
participate. Yeah, and you can do that Ouija Mania.
Ouija Mania
Ouija
3000
Mania
with
3000.
barbecue.
crawfish.
Oh.
And
Man, last
Can
time
someone
I ate
peel them
crawfish,
for me?
like,
Because I don't like
ate way
touching
too
those.
much.
no, you didn't. You didn't eat too much. You drank too much.
Yeah, drank too much.
You drank too much.
People ended on bathroom floors and
Yeah.
all kinds of the garage floors.
That sounds like a
Hey,
good time.
hey.
Reaching mania. Reaching mania. It's happening.
Yeah, no, that's when me and Omar got into the drinking competition.
Freaking crawfish are gonna be like crawling up the wall.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
god.
gonna do a competition at
Yo,
Swiss
crawfish
House.
freak me out though.
People
Which
falling on
It's
tables.
okay.
Oh,
I'll get you a Big Mac.
You for
Oh
falling
my
asleep in my chair.
No, you gotta get a dinosaur chicken.
Remember when we were all in the garage?
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's what she thought.
Did
Yeah.
he tell you?
Wait, what?
Wait, what happened?
I'm gonna get him some dinosaur chicken.
Oh yeah. I was telling him about that.
So I went grocery shopping and I got some dinosaur chicken nuggets. So whenever Nick comes to visit,
Yeah, because that's all he
true
likes.
story.
This is facts. I'm not gonna lie, dinosaurs. Like it started out as a joke, but then like, yeah, you know, I do eat
I like
them.
my MSG in the shape of a.
Yeah, a friendly shape to fuck up my body.
And then I got you some little juices as well.
Well, not the Capri Suns because I can't figure them out.
Yeah,
though.
it's a
I
Capri
know.
Sun.
That's
Yeah.
what I told Xavier. I'm like, man, last time he tried to open it.
Yo, I told this shit
I
right
got
through.
it. I got it. It's Papa Legba and Haitian voodoo.
Oh,
actually.
go New Orleans.
Yes.
Go New Orleans. I know who that guy is.
Yeah, and he's
That's the guy with the top
often
hat.
syncretized with Satan. So, hey, that's pretty cool.
He's the guy that wears the top hat and shit, and he has his face
Yeah,
painted.
I like that. Okay, very good.
You should buy something top hat for your feet.
Yeah, I would.
So now, talking about this Saturn death clip.
We've had so much shit
We're like,
going
gonna
on.
go. You're gonna make my editing job like horrible. I'm gonna have to like cut pieces and parts up.
I just don't cut the
Me puking all over the place.
no the dinosaurs.
Oh no, we'll keep that. We'll keep the MSG dinosaurs in.
Yeah, that Russell part out.
No. That's gonna be the
Promo.
intro. That's gonna be the promo.
Special guest, Russ.
Special guest. You know him as Russell.
There you go.
Oh,
Hey guys.
I wish I was.
How long are we running on right now? I can't see
2 minutes.
52. Oh, that's not bad. For the random conversations that
But
are
yeah,
popping up in my mind.
When no random conversations
Yeah.
popping in your mind.
But this time they're not with myself.
No, but this time there's actually people around you.
That's what I was saying. That's the selling point right here.
Nick's like, I'm self-employed, so if you hear me talking to myself, do not disturb. I'm having a staff meeting.
Mm-hmm. Better than a staph infection.
Wow.
No comment. No comment.
Didn't need one for that one. Just let the joke sit and boil a little bit. All right.
Walk
So
away slowly.
quickly.
But getting back to it, so of anything that we haven't talked about as far as the death cult that popped out to you, we talked about the Garden of Eden and the correlations between that.
I didn't get to read fully into it, but it was the transition from Saturn not being the sun anymore and moving out, and the formation of Venus, and then the
Turning the
fucking
purple haze.
yeah, and that
there.
fading away because the sun was supposedly, like dissipating the haze or whatever. I didn't read too far into that one. That's where I kind of stopped.
Yeah. The other interesting thing that we'll have to touch on, because I think we'll revisit this in the future, is the geometry that's associated with Saturn and
What the hexagon thing in the
yeah,
top
the
of it?
weird the cloud pattern that's on the top of.
Well, they don't even know if it's a cloud pattern. They said it's like a storm pattern. Like there's a never-ending storm that just constantly whirls in the formation of a hexagon.
a hexagon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like it hasn't changed in like decades almost, or centuries. So as long as they've been noticed it.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the video on our screen, but at the top of Saturn is the storm that has always been there, and it's in the shape of a hexagon.
Yeah. But they said like the center point of that is kind of it's reminiscent of that big ass cube in what country is that? You know the prayer cube where they all walk around
the
it.
Mecca.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Mecca,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's what they said. Like it's something like that. The midpoint of that kind of resembles that.
Yeah.
And it's weird that they have it over there, and then this, it's all kind of tied in with that too. So,
But yeah, we'll have to retouch the subject later on, and
it's a part 2,
with a part 2
followed by Ouija Mania.
for all of our Ouija Mania. So
What's touch bums and only Slugger? I don't know if he's still here.
yeah,
I
you
hadn't
guys,
seen that, but
you guys missed that one.
Wait,
it was
what?
there when I came back. Like someone said something about touching bums.
Oh,
yeah,
So
bums. No,
I've been working
I
out,
don't
thanks.
think. Do demons have bums? Anyway, that's a valid question, right? I mean, I'm just saying.
but
Maybe
yeah,
they work out too.
They got faces for ass. Like they turn around, it's like another face for 2 cheeks. I don't know.
Oh wow.
Don't let my imagination
See,
go.
that's why they come back and haunt your ass.
Nah, we're cool. Cracking open a boy with the cold ones. You ever seen that meme?
No.
Please pull that one up.
what?
Which one?
Put cracking open a boy with the cold ones.
Oh, God.
I just remembered it.
You remember? Go to images. It's that one. Go down, down, down to the right. There you go.
Cracking.
Oh, God.
Can you add it to the
To
screen?
the screen?
Mhm.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
I think it's worth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Alright, I'm gonna add this to the stream real quick. Alright, you guys should be able to see it now. So
Yeah.
cracking open a boy with the cold ones.
Yep. So we do every Sunday.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Okay. Other than that, I got nothing else to say of importance.
Yeah, we have just a few small things. So our streams are on Wednesdays and Sundays. We're gonna try to do them hopefully 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, somewhere in that range. We'll figure it out the more we do this.
Mhm.
Also follow us on YouTube. We'll put the links in the description below. Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, all of those. We all have an account. So also visit our new co-host. I mean, not co-host, our guest host.
Guess so. Damn, I already got
I was like, I
fired.
already got promoted. I already got promoted.
He demoted himself and fired me in one fucking episode.
The new host. No, I'm playing. Visit our guest host. Welly, before we go, tell us a little bit about your channel, what people can expect, and why they should tune in.
Yes, well, you guys should come see me at either YouTube, here on Twitch. I'm going to be talking about a lot of different topics, but basically a bunch of spirituality, demonology, all kinds of astrology, numerology, all the ologies
Sexology.
that maybe I'm kidding. But yeah, you guys, just come talk to me. I'm gonna be doing a YouTube. Rated L is gonna be about pretty much linking, I guess you could say, bridging gaps versus
Connecting dots.
or connecting that. But yeah, basically just the energetic components of everything that goes on in our lives. I have a business degree and a science degree, but there's a lot of things that people don't take into consideration. So I'm gonna be talking about that, and here on Twitch, doing some gaming once in a while, and just a lot of fun stuff, a lot of hippie shit.
Hippie shit.
Hippie shit, yeah.
So are you gonna invite us to
To
be on
Hippie
your
Mania
channel?
3000?
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, just come see me. And it's gonna be rated L. L for Lely. Don't forget my name, Lely.
What?
Lely.
Lil?
No, but yeah. I'm basically just a little bit of everything. just come see me. I thank you guys. Love you. Peace.
All right.
So,
And 1. Done. Goodbye.
No, you're supposed to do the outro.
I don't
Hold on.
remember the outro.
Wait a few seconds and then do the outro.
I don't remember the outro.
We're pulling into blah blah blah. You don't remember?
Did I ever say that?
Yeah, the last one.
Oh, fuck.
God, I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing.
Jesus
on this.
Christ. No, I don't remember. I don't remember. It was kind of like a spur of the moment thing that time.
Should have wrote it
Figure
down.
out.
Thanks.
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 All right, hold on.
And we're pulling into the station. We're getting off the train. And we're done for the week. Catch you back on Wednesday and Sundays.